it starts with c4, which is the English opening, but actually is going to transpose into a queen's gambit. So he goes e6, knight c3, d5, and now if you play d4, that's not an English anymore. That's the queen's gambit actually here declined. So, all right, it goes like this. Bishop g5 makes sense. Pinning the knight, it makes total sense. Now c6, queen c2. Queen c2 is just, I give you just the rough principles, but it's to control the square so the bishop doesn't come here. That's very well known. Known territories here for the time being. Knight d7 is basically when you castle one day, this knight needs to control this one because the day you castle, bishop take, and basically after, when the bishop is here, it's just bishop take h7. Anyway, let me show you this. So bishop d3, now if the knight is not here, obviously if you castle, I can just take the knight that defends this and bishop take h7. But now it's not the case because if I take, just knight takes. All right, so knight h5 now is a new move. I mean, I haven't seen this in my career and I think is a new move here. So usually not great to put the knight here. So bishop take bishop, queen take, knight e2, and keep an eye on this knight. I mean, you're gonna see how many times he's gonna move in the game and he's gonna maybe even lose the game at the end, honestly. All right, so g6, because you don't wanna have this bishop take h7 when you castle. And castle, castle, rook e1. What white are going to do here, they're going to bring their pieces to the king side and they're going to be attacking on the king side, and black pieces are going to be attacking on the queen side with like pushing the pawns. This is how it usually happens because they have basically a majority. We call this a majority of pawn, 4 pawns against 3 only. So one day there is a pass pawn and you try to actually win this way. You will see in the game. So, knight f6, and look at this knight. He's going to keep moving the whole game. Knight c1, because one day you want to bring your queen, and, you know, this is the idea, because, as I said, the white are going to be attacking on the king side. So, bishop e6, f3. So now you play f3 to actually push e4 and bother the guy actually in the center here. Okay, so b6. Now he brings the queen. c5, queen here, and obviously he goes back with the queen. I'm going fast because this is not the position I want to show you. He goes back because like this he was pinned, so he was going to be pushing, he was going to be playing e4 with white, so he doesn't want to have this, so he just plays the move queen d8. And now g4, knight g7 is pretty forced. And now look at this knight. This knight is again moving. I mean, he was here, just went on c1, came back here. That's pretty interesting. And now black are preparing basically the attack on the queen side, like we said. We try to defend, but it's not going to work. And we get this position. And yeah, all right. So it goes trade, and b4. Take en passant, bishop take, b4, knight e2 is just to show you the game, but this is not the most interesting part. So that's why I'm going super fast, but stay tuned and you'll see. All right, so he goes with, I like this move maneuver, sorry, which is like bishop c8 to actually bringing on a6 to have this diagonal that is much better than actually having, you know, 2 pawns around this bishop, right? So I like it a lot. Bishop c8, knight g3, bishop a6, and now Fabiano decided to actually give the rook. I mean, against the bishop, he's trading. But I think the best move here was rook f2, which wasn't played. But yeah, rook f2 here is better. And I don't know exactly, but like maybe he was scared of a move like bishop c4, but against this move, you just play rook b1, and if rook e8, attacking this pawn, you have now g5. And yeah, if knight comes here, you just trade everything, and you don't take the pawn on h5, because look, you're not going to play this, because what is more important, the pawn on h5 here, or defending your pawn that is central on e3? You got the answer, right? Obviously, is defending your pawn on e3 is way more important, so the move here would be queen f4, and I mean, it's unclear. It's an unclear position, but maybe that was better for white rather than giving the rook. Okay, so he decided to play g5, but that's unclear. I mean, the position can still be okay, actually. And so now, bishop take, rook take, and he goes back with the knight, and obviously the point of actually pushing g5, if I'm giving you this, is to gain something, which was this pawn on d5. So he takes, and now rook b5, and that's super strong. This kind of maneuver, sorry about this kind of maneuver to actually come here to control the king, is super strong, as you will see in the game. So rook b5, queen e4. Obviously, I mean, you can't really defend another way, because if you play, you're thinking about this move, right? e4. If you play e4 defending the knight, I have this nice move that attacks actually g5 and d4, and things are going to start falling. It's not going to be great. So he decided to play queen e4 here. And there is queen take g5, obviously. You can't be defending everything. f4, come back, f5. And this is interesting. And maybe what he missed, Fabiano, in this game is that knight f6 for black is playable. And actually, when you look at it now, because you know there is this rook that is targeting here, there is the knight that is controlling, maybe he missed knight f6 here. Because on knight take f6, queen take obviously only move, and now you're taking with the discovery, right? His discovery channel. So you're attacking, so the queen has to take the pawn. And now there is an amazing move. And this is the kind of position I want you to spend time on, because, I mean, you have to find it. It's not easy though. So you're gonna have to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to look at it. All right, did you find it? I mean, the move here is bishop take f7. That's crazy, because the rook cannot take. And this is actually the thing that you should have seen here, is that if rook takes, queen a8 check, and there is no defense against the back rank, there is absolutely nothing you can put in front, because even if the rook comes back, well, there is a rook and a queen here, and I'm just gonna mate you with queen take, and you cannot do anything. So since you cannot take with the rook, you have to take, and I mean with the queen, and give your queen. But still, this position is unclear. I mean, that's really not easy to play. And actually, the computer here is saying that it's better for white, but you have to be super precise. The positions where you have to be super precise are the open positions, which means, you know, when it's a center that is closed, etc., you can just maneuver, play some, you know, imprecisions and stuff like this. I don't even know if the word exists. Maybe, I'll look. But here, because all the lines are open, usually computers just destroy us in this kind of positions. And Caruana played a move like queen d3, which was a mistake. He's thinking about attacking the rook and controlling the square for the push. But actually, he had to put the queen on where the queen has... If you want the queen to be powerful, you want the queen to be on open lines, right? And the best square here was queen c2, because now suddenly you have this. Maybe he didn't see, because they had like about 4 or 5 minutes left. Maybe he thought this move was possible, and maybe he missed something like this. It's possible in time trouble. Queen c4, and you win the rook. I don't think so, but yeah, maybe he just misjudged. You know, it's like it's really hard to find. I mean, he just played queen d3 here, and now rook g5, the famous maneuver, rook b5, rook g5, and now, as you can see, the king starts to be in a sort of prison, because the rook is controlling the f-file. I mean, this piece is pinned. That's not easy. That's not an easy game, really. So he played king g2, knight f5, because this is pinned. And look, the maneuver of this knight is pretty amazing, and how he's going to create all the threats. I mean, that's really nice. I wouldn't have found something like this. Knight f5. e4, knight h4 check, king h3. Now he comes back on g6, and he changes everything. I show you why. Because on queen c4, now there is the move h5, there is sick. And now he's threatening knight f4 check. You can't go on g2. Only move is king h4 and rook g4 checkmate. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. He created a sort of prison for the king where, you know, with the pawn on h5, the knight that went knight f5, knight h4, knight g6 to go on knight f4, and then rook g4 checkmate. That's crazy, right? So obviously he has to come back on g2. That's pretty much the only move here. The other moves are losing as well, which means you're giving a piece here. So he comes back, take, and still, honestly, even for us, like, you know, like the normal humans, it's not easy to win with black here. It's not easy because, you know, you have these 2 pawns and, you know, quite dangerous, right? So he takes. Now he infiltrates his pieces. This is what you have to do. Especially in this kind of positions, you have to have your pieces like super active, especially around the king. He goes check, king h6, and there is no more check now for the queen. And you will notice one thing. When a knight is next to a king, usually the knight controls a lot of checks around. So when you're on a blitz game and let's say you don't, I mean, you're winning, but you don't want to be checked around and like, you know, the guy repeats the moves or something like this, what you have to do, you put a knight next to your king to protect, and usually the knight controls all the checking squares around. That's just a pattern you have to keep in your mind. Okay, so he goes like this. He's not even, as you can see, the knight is controlling this and this, so he's not like threatening anything. But the only point is to control this. I mean, he's defending g3. He goes and attacks the other points, and that's the thing. I mean, the queen cannot defend all the pawns here in this position. Goes like this one falls, he goes like this. I mean, pretty simple chess. And he loses all of them, and it goes like this. And yeah. And now rook d3, and that's an amazing move. Because if you take knight f4, and this is, you know, forking the couple, so that doesn't work. And like this, he's bringing the rook on this, So he's bringing the rook here, so that will control basically the king to actually not go above the 3rd rank. So queen d1, now he goes check, takes the pawn on g3. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. He moves the queen on e4. And now the simple move, rook g2, actually wins. Because if you go on f1, well, rook d1, and you have to give me your queen. And if you go on e1, then it's simply rook e2, and well, it goes like this, and basically, I'm just gonna mate you a king and a rook. I wanted to show you the game. It's 2 in the morning for me, but you know, they just played it, and I thought it was pretty amazing. So yeah, Caruana lost against someone who was, by the way, like just 26-30 in ELO rating against the number 2 in the world, who's like maybe 28-20. So that's a great performance, but you know, black deserved in this game. I think that was pretty amazing. So stay tuned for the next one, guys. Hope you like this one. Bye.